I told you guys, I said this earlier in the week, we are in a golden era of mixed martial arts right now. Things just seem to be lining up because obviously part of this just happens to do with the outcomes and the type of champions that are winning, the type of fighters that are winning, the fan favorites. We have Alex Pereira one week. The next week, we got Charles Oliveira, a huge star in the UFC, a massive fan favorite, arguably one of the most popular fighters to ever come from Brazil in Brazil, gets the victory in Rio and in amazing fashion. Y'all must have forgot. Now, when I was on MMA Joey's stream earlier today, I did throw out there, I'm predicting Charles Oliveira in a round 2 submission. I called it on point. Now, you got to take that with a grain of salt because I don't really know what I'm doing in the prediction game. It's just what I felt and I said it. But I will tell you why I did change my pick, even though I didn't make a video about it. But I did change my pick from Friday's show. So let's backtrack a second. Justin was telling me how Gamrot moves into American Top Team, leaving his family behind, having no TV, and just having sole focus on training for the fight, which is very admirable. And I recognize the will to win therein. I recognize that level of ambition, that level of sacrifice. So that spoke to me, obviously. And I was like, okay, well, in that case, man, Mateusz Gamrot, I'm going to give him his credit. I feel like he's going to pull it off if he's that focused. I mean, just kind of a random one-off statement based on something that Justin told me. Then Justin made a prediction video earlier today, breaking down the fight styles and looking at them side by side. And the main point is this, and this is exactly what we saw. You think you can go in there and wrestle Charles Oliveira and bully him that way? It's going to go badly. This is why so many guys don't want to go to the ground with him, even though Charles Oliveira doesn't have the wrestling credentials. His grappling is unbelievable. The most submissions, I believe, definitely in the lightweight division, but I believe in the history of the UFC. And now we get another submission via face crank. It wasn't even under the neck. And just such massive credit to Charles Oliveira. So let's go through this fight and let's break it down. I almost thought that Charles Oliveira was going to do some major damage in round 1. But when you look at the stand-up, and obviously we have to give credit to Gamrot, he was able to land heavy in certain cases. He doesn't have the most traditional clean striking. It doesn't look as nice and crisp, in my opinion, as Charles Oliveira does. Like Charles Oliveira, in contrast, man, his just Muay Thai, the way he mixes it up with kicks, and he was throwing some close elbows and things like that, where he literally, I said this against Michael Chandler too, and I know people say, oh, Michael Chandler's not that good. Michael Chandler's still a great fighter, okay? Like, let's be real. He's in the UFC. He's fought the best of the best. You can't just say he's a trash fighter. But we saw that against Michael Chandler, just beautiful presentation of Muay Thai. We saw it again here today. I felt like maybe the striking was close if you go blow by blow and who landed more, but I just thought that Charles Oliveira looked like he was getting the better of Gamrot. On top of that, he was putting continuous forward pressure on Gamrot, which I think even allowed Gamrot to land some of those clean strikes. But this tells you something really important. And this is what we talked about on Friday. People are so quick to write guys off in the UFC when they hit a certain age level and they get knocked out. And you see something like that, it's even Justin says it too. Once you get knocked out once, you're more susceptible to getting knocked out again. And I'm sure there's some truth to that. But I gotta believe that doesn't universally apply to people, especially at the tippy top of the sport, like Volkanovski, like Charles Oliveira. We were talking about somebody else who recently, I mean, even Alex Pereira got knocked out at middleweight, came back and dominated at light heavyweight. So I think there's a massive component that's being overlooked in the caliber of these guys and the team they probably have around them and the proper recovery that they're doing. Everybody was criticizing Oliveira for jumping back too soon. I just had a feeling that those statements were misguided, and look what happened. He did eat some heavy shots, not as heavy as they were from Ilya, but he ate them and he kept coming forward, and his chin looked fantastic. Okay, so I thought the Muay Thai was great. Gamrot did say he wasn't afraid to take him down. He shot in and really tried to keep him on the ground. Immediately in round 1, Charles had his arm in some precarious position, an omoplata, and was trying to maneuver around and make something happen in that position. And then I think eventually he was able to mount Gamrot's back at the end of round 1. Now, I don't know what was going on, but Charles was complaining. I think Gamrot may have had his hands in Oliveira's gloves. So I think Gamrot was cheating, and he was trying to get the ref's attention, trying to get him to give Gamrot a warning or some sort of a point deduction. Nothing happened. So that froze a lot of time, unfortunately, for round 1. I think Charles could have done a lot more damage in round 1, but it was what it was. Then we go into round 2. And they get into some scrambles. Actually, I think it was Charles Oliveira that shot the takedown against the cage. He had Gamrot against the cage. He shot. He got him to the ground. They had some scrambles, ended up taking his back, latched on that amazing face crank, similar to what we saw Khamzat Chimaev finish Robert Whittaker with, same as Habib and Conor McGregor, and boom, locked it in, cranked it. He was thinking about it, and tapped. Just beautiful all around. A true mixed martial artist. This is what the sport's about. You count somebody out, especially at this level, that's a big mistake. Charles Oliveira comes back, gets a dominant victory against somebody who's awesome. Gamrot is amazing. If I'm not mistaken, Gamrot beat They had a very close fight, but I'm pretty sure he beat Arman Saruki. And even though I think it could have gone either way, that's my recollection. But Gamrot is very, very good. Gamrot is somebody, he did lose to Dan Hooker, but he's somebody that people once upon a time and probably still do think that he could one day be champ of the lightweight division. I don't know how it's going to go now after this loss. I don't know what's going to happen and where Gamrot's going to go. Gave a fair play to him, but yo, so dope. Charles Oliveira still atop the division. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with Ilya versus Gaethje is what they're saying next. Could be Ilya versus Patty. It seems like it's going to be Ilya versus Gaethje. Charles is still sticking around. Maybe we'll still see that Charles Oliveira versus Paddy Pimblett fight. Who knows? But hey, like I said, it's a great time to be a UFC fan. And it is really, really cool when we have these massive fan favorites. And again, no disrespect to Gamrot, but you have these, again, Charles Oliveira, Alex Pereira, universally beloved. Nobody dislikes these guys. It's win, win, win when they win. They're happy. The team's happy. The fans are happy. The UFC is happy. So 4 wins right there. Everybody's happy. It's just so great. And you can't always predict this stuff. That's the beauty of the sport. Sometimes the less popular guy is going to get the victory, and that's just how it goes. But that's what makes the sport so exciting. So anyways, beautiful victory. Charles Oliveira has still got it in spades. How tremendous, how incredible. I can't wait to talk to Justin about this because I want to know exactly how difficult it is to pull off a face crank submission that early on in a fight when somebody's still fresh. I have to believe Charles Oliveira gets major credit here. And I got to say, watch that prediction video one more time. We dropped it today. Justin said Charles is going to win by submission. He put money on it. He put his money where his mouth was, and he won. This is awesome. I'm so happy. It's such a good time to be a UFC fan. That's all I got for you. That's my reaction. Love it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Were you also impressed by Charles? Do you feel that Gamrot was actually getting the better of Charles in round 1? I feel like Charles 100% round one, no question. But I think in MMA Joey's stream, people were disagreeing. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.